Meghan and Harry, the Duke and Duchess of Montecito, bless them, they're still trying to set up on their own. Well, sort of. I mean, let's be honest, nobody would be interested if they didn't have their titles, which they ran away from but constantly use. But fair play to them in their search for privacy on their own terms, which, in my view, roughly translates to let's sell our souls to the devil, the media, the very thing they complained about. They now appear to be using a scattergun approach to try to monetize anything. And I mean anything. I mean, let's face it, what skills can these two possibly offer? So we've got Meghan Markle trying to scrape for relevance with her jam, which she launched on her naffly titled website to show off her cooking and gardening skills. She's clearly trying to rival King Charles and his jam. Only his retails at just under £7 and proceeds go to charity, whereas hers is, what, £30 or something ridiculous like that. And the money ends up in her already richly lined pockets. She plans to launch a totally unrelatable range of products like bird seed. What's that about? And she swans around in a field dressed in a ball gown with some weird music in the background. I think she thinks that she's in some sort of movie. The whole thing is absurd. Harry, who will apparently have a show about polo on Netflix. Well, that's really interesting, isn't it, Harry? Netflix are really scraping the barrel with this one. They want to who wants to watch a load of pompous, arrogant, rich men playing this game? Sorry if that's a stereotype, Harry, but you're all I've got to go on, and that's what I read about in my Jilly Cooper books many years ago. I feel sorry for the horses. It's like hockey on steroids. I suspect in some austere times like these, a show like that will go down like a lead balloon and only put people's backs up. But then they're not known for their great timing. Let's hope they can stop whinging and be thankful for their privilege. Prince Harry officially listed America as his primary residence, which was backdated to June last year in an updated file on the 15th of April. Great. Now relinquish your titles. You're clearly done with the UK. They're yours now, America. Well, welcome to GBN America. I'm Nana Acquia. So a setback follows the contentious departure of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex from Spotify, where they were branded as effing grifters by an executive, despite the initial excitement surrounding Meghan's deal with Lemonada Media. Seems things aren't going to be happening anytime soon, which is not really surprising. But joining me now is Maureen Callahan, a columnist for thedailymail.com, to give us the latest. Maureen, welcome. What's happening with this new podcast?
Oh, thank you for having me, Nana. I'm sure you and your viewers will not be surprised to hear that nothing is happening with Meghan's new podcast. Her new streaming service, Lemonada, just announced yesterday that the Duchess's podcast is on hold and will not be debuting until points unknown in 2025.
Wow. Well, I mean, that's interesting that she's not going to do anything, but it's not surprising. But you know what I think? Maybe they, Lemonada Media, the people who she was going to do the podcast through, decided. Maybe they're the ones that decided, look, this is not good timing because the King and both Catherine are ill, and they were concerned about how it might look.
You know, it's a definite possibility. You could also make the argument that, on the other hand, given that the only real thing that Meghan Markle and her husband have to merchandise is their connection to the royal family. It really only is the singular point of interest for either of these people. And what's true that we know, obviously, is one, Harry and Meghan are now in a complete informational blackout. They have no idea what is going on with the health of Kate. They have really no idea, it seems, what's going on with the King. So she has really nothing to offer. And at the same time, she and Netflix believe when better than now to announce that she's filming her new quote unquote cooking show. When better than now for Meghan to launch her ridiculously, terribly pretentiously named American Riviera Orchard. She has sent 50 baskets. Her muslin-capped jars numbered 1 out of 50, surrounded by lemons, who knows why, to her closest friends and influencers. And we've only seen about 4 people post to social media, you know, which begs the question, who are the other 46? who was number one, it seems that those in the Duchess's orbit are retreating from any real associations with her. So, this all sort of feels very grasping, very, still trying to hang on to those sort of greasy ladder steps of fame. And she just sort of keeps sliding ever downward. It's fascinating to watch.
Isn't it fascinating? Look, nobody wants anybody to continuously fail, but I think what it is the sort of lack of sensitivity or empathy that it feels that her and Harry both have for their own family. Because I know if the shoe was on the other foot and devastating things were happening in my family, I would be even, my dad, he's done some bad things in his time. He's a lovely man, but he's got another family somewhere else. He wouldn't mind if I tell everybody that. But I still forgive him. I still forgive him,
Right.
And if anything happens to him, I'm still there, no matter what. He's my father. And so I think people have got this bitter taste. Also, the lemon thing. In this country, if you buy a car that is called the Lemon, that's like the runt of the litter. That's like the dodgy one, the one that went completely wrong. So it seems really odd that she's not put that connection with that and her product.
It's such a great point. I mean, Anna, she cannot get out of her own way. I think this is a trait she shares with her husband. Now, I'm going to be far more uncharitable than you. And I'm going to take I'm just going to speak for the bulk of Americans. I'm pretty sure I'm channeling our feelings. We would like her to fail. And I will tell you the tipping point for Meghan when she lost even many of the woke brigade in America. It was that moment in the Netflix documentary when she mocked her first meeting with the Queen, miming her own extremely deep, disrespectful curtsy to the Queen with a smirk on her face as her emasculated husband sat right next to her with a very pained expression on his face and said nothing. And she compared the British royal family to medieval times, which are theme restaurants in America where people dress up as medieval knights and joust while they eat a lot of food. So at that point, I can safely say she lost America, and we are all too happy to watch her flail about from one failed project to the next. I think it's performance art nonpareil, personally.
It is. It's captivating, addictive viewing, but for all the wrong reasons. And I suppose people like Netflix want to capitalise on that because they know that even if she loses, they will still win with viewers.
Yes, and so the most recent Netflix project that they launched was Harry's Invictus documentary. And, in America, we are very well aware of his work in founding Invictus, in work with veterans who come back traumatized, physically and mentally wounded. In America, that doc was an epic flop. Nobody watched it.
Wow.
This is the level of distaste that people have. Nobody thinks that Meghan Markle is a representative of warmth and domesticity. You want to talk about breaking up families? Let's play. You want to talk about friendship, as she's branding this new series about? Her focus on friendship and cooking and just giving and give. And she does nothing but give. Nothing but give. Failure after failure, but she still gives us.
Maybe she should just give up. I doubt she will, though. I doubt she will. It's kind of sad. It is kind of sad, but I'm afraid to say that I can see another fail on the cards. I think for Prince Harry, even though people sort of love him because of the Invictus, I think, like you said, I think they're going off him. And frankly, when he disclosed his kill count, he sort of stabbed his comrades in the back, really, with that one, because you shouldn't really be disclosing that information because it could mean that you are compromising not only your safety, but those who were around protecting him as well.
Yes, exactly. And not only that, but, my father was a veteran of the Vietnam War, and anybody who knows or loves a veteran or who has served knows that the one thing they hold the most sacred is what they saw and had to do. And the true soldier never talks about that. They just don't. And Harry really, really, really inflicted some irreversible wounds with that memoir and the subsequent interviews he did.
Yeah, terrible. It's so embarrassing, Maureen. It is. We're embarrassed. We don't want them. You can keep them. That is the brilliant Maureen
Please,
Callahan.
we don't want them either.
Well, he's announced that he's what, is he resident there now or something? God help us. Maureen, thank you so much. Lovely to talk to you. That's Maureen Callahan. She's with thedailymail.com. Thank you, Maureen. Continuing on with Jamgate, US-based royal commentator Lee Cohen joins me now. Lee, we heard what Maureen had to say. What were you thinking? Do you think Meghan asked to do the tacky photo shoot? And what do Americans think of these exclusive 50 jars of jam? And why are the majority not sharing their received jam on their socials? Lee Cohen.
Well, good morning, Nana. This is so monumentally eye-rolling. I mean, even for Meghan, when I first became aware of this, I thought, Jamgate, is this something the cartoon series South Park came up with to ridicule the Duchess again? The tone deafness, Nana, it's deafening. I mean, especially for a person who had serious ambitions to be an influential world leader, to now be sending her gal pals jam for social media snaps. I mean, it's beyond.
Because it's so vacuous, actually, because what she, as an influencer, as a member of the royal family, doing the things that she could have been doing, you have incredible influence, far more outreaching than anything that you're going to get from selling jam on social media and birdseed and doing some gardening and a bit of cooking. It's just such a scattergun, disjointed approach. I just don't get it. I think she's failed badly. I think they both have.
Well, Nana, is the bar so low on the Sussex's achievement that they have to treat the provenance of 50 jars of jam with no Jerusalem, by the way, as though it were the second coming? I mean, it is so eye-rolling that while the royal family represent the best of humanity through service to others, Meghan is manufacturing jam and recruiting her gal pals to help in the promotion.
I know, but you know what? King Charles has his own jam, and his jam retails at just under £7, so it's quite cheap. You know, it's not, and all the money he gets, all the money, the proceeds, the profits for it, will go to charity. That's how his jam works. Hers is eye-wateringly expensive, and obviously all of that, or whatever profit she makes, goes straight into her pocket, and it just really doesn't sit well with me. It's kind of sticky, really. But I suppose that's what they're in, a bit of a sticky. They're in a pickle, aren't they? She should have made pickle.
Indeed, and the king didn't recruit his gal pals with their rictus grins and Cheshire cat grins, displaying the holy jam for all to see on Instagram. Yeah. I mean, really.
Yeah, I think if it were, if I were a girl pal and she'd sent me that, although she would never like me. She would never like me. She'd never even speak to me, I should imagine. But she's probably seen me. But if I were her pal and she'd sent me that on Instagram, I would literally be thinking, well, Kate's in hospital. King Charles, was in hospital with cancer. She's now recovering. She's having chemotherapy. King Charles is having chemotherapy. Do I really want to put myself out there holding this jam, promoting it, because it's going to now tar me with the same jammy brush as Meghan Markle? Who wants that?
Well, believe me, I think the world is not ready for that, or is not thrilled to have that. And it just underlines once again, as we already said, the extreme tone deafness from the Sussexes, which, it find their way not only into this, but, into Harry's polo experience as well.
Oh, and speaking of which, yes, so he's now declared that America is his primary residence. Is it time you just give up the titles then? I mean, you don't want to be here. You've declared that you're not interested in this country. Why on earth should he even have a title? Even if it's a birthright, that can be taken if you reject it, surely.
Well, of course, Harry is free to live wherever he wants, but it's really staggering. It's staggering that a prince of the blood has declared residence in another country, my country, and has no domicile in the land of his birth, and even has considered taking citizenship in a foreign country. If Harry felt disinclined to royal service, all he had to do was withdraw and keep a dignified, respectful silence out of respect for his family. His family, which is part of a beloved 1,000-year pillar of British society. It's not just any family, but indeed, Nana, for financial gain, he launched unforgivable public attacks on them, published in his memoirs and accompanying interviews. So, that kind of behavior isn't appreciated on this side of the Atlantic any more than it is on your side.
Now, there's a piece in The Spectator about taking Harry back. The Americans don't want him, by the sounds of it. Talk to me about that.
Well, yes, my piece in The Spectator, and I wouldn't necessarily say, I have to make the caveat that not everyone, not all of my countrymen and women feel this way, but but those of us who don't read the tabloid supermarket press are a bit more discerning in this. On the one hand, Harry claims to still love his family dearly, as he said in interviews, etc. But in his autobiography, he savages them mercilessly. So it's really not appreciated. The hypocrisy is not appreciated, and we. Some of us just find it intolerable. And now they want to invoke some thoughts about the election come November. These things are really not appreciated when you come to your host country, especially as someone from with the background of a royal family who's not supposed to wade into politics. Now here they come, it's just a joke.
And it's sort of, to be fair, it's narcissistic behaviour, because the narcissist will tell you you're wonderful, and then do something that isn't very nice to you, but then come back to you and say you're wonderful. So what I'm seeing is sort of a cycle of narcissism, which, from both of them behaving in that way, listen, if he doesn't, to say you love your family and then do what they are doing to your family, it's horrendous. How could that be love? That doesn't look like love to me. That looks like hate. But then you sort of caveat it with, we love our family. Well, I think he's talking about his own immediate family. I don't think he's talking about the king, and I don't think he's talking about Queen Camilla at all either. But what about Netflix? Now, they haven't abandoned the Sussexes. Spotify have walked away, but Netflix are still pumping money into the couple. And one of the things Harry were doing is sort of like a series or a programme, at least, about polo.
Right. Well, what I have to say about that is that polo is the sport of kings, and Harry and his wife withdrew from the royal family and savaged its members, as we've just said, making damaging allegations against them. So Harry, on the one hand, and the sport of kings, Harry, who doesn't seem to terribly respect the tradition of his birthright, and the sport of kings, there's miraculous irony in this, only made possible by the world-beating hypocrisy of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex.
And what's going on with Oprah as well? Because I think a lot of people have looked at her very differently after that awful thing that she did, that interview that she did with Meghan and Harry those years ago.
Well, so Oprah, I believe, also got caught up in some things that were blending sort of raising money for charity, but in sort of high end from position of prestige, and that of course needs to be handled very carefully. The Duke and the Duchess of Sussex's greatest supporters in this country are not people who are supporting and defending prestige and luxury. They're fighting for, the common man. And Harry and Meghan don't seem to have learned anything about the tone deafness that has so deflated their popularity on both sides of the Atlantic. Nana, they both clearly crave the finer things in life. They celebrate the finer things in life. And it's kind of a delicious irony that owing to their self-centeredness, they chose to surrender luxury and position, luxury and position that money can't even buy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yet money and position seem irresistible to them. This is irreconcilable.
Yeah, you know what? They abandoned the common man. It was the common man that made them popular. And unfortunately for them now, they are literally at the altar of people like Netflix and people like that now, because otherwise I don't know what they will do to support their family. Listen, Lee Cohen, it's such a pleasure talking to you as ever. Thank you so much for joining me. That is the brilliant Lee Cohen. This is GBN America. I'm Nana Acquia. Catch up on gbnews.com/America.